Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, business owners and SMEs. Hey, listen, it's great to have you with us. Here we are, we're live on a Monday and we've got a good show lined up for you today. I was going to hesitate there. I normally say a cracking show. This is a cracking show, as always. Great business information if you are a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an SME. This is one of the shows that you've really got to talk and listen to, because this is all about mentoring today. Today's show, we're going to be discussing the benefits of mentoring, whatever stage your business is at, why you should need a mentor, what are the best ways to approach to get mentoring, but also what other services are out there when it comes to mentoring. What else can you expect from an organisation when you talk to them? You say, look, I'd like you to be my mentor. If it's an organisation, what more can they offer you? Could they offer you advice maybe perhaps on sales, on marketing? And then can they do something absolutely concrete to support that wish that you have? It's all very well. There's a lot of people out there that will go along and they will see a mentoring organisation or a mentor and they will sit down with them, and you've got one person exchanging quality information with the other one. They are just talking mentoring. But how do you turn those words into something that is businesslike, useful and concrete, something that you can take away? I suppose what it is, it's turning something about mentoring into something that's truly tangible, that you can touch, feel, smell and taste. Joining me in the studio today is an old friend of the program, Jonathan Fowle. He's the Managing Director, Rockstar Group. And Jonathan, just lovely to have you.
Good to be back, mate. Good to be back. It's been a few years.
It's been a few years.
You haven't aged a day.
And neither of you.
Well, thank you.
Which is evident by the photograph that we used of you at the very beginning. Listen, for those people that don't know who Rockstar are, you've been around for quite some time, and I suppose sometimes the name to a certain extent leads people to think that you are something different to what you are, but you are probably, without blowing your trumpet for you, you're probably one of the premier mentoring organisations in the UK. For those people that don't know about you and what Rockstar provide, just give us that brief synopsis.
Sure. 10 years now.
Gosh.
We have our 10th birthday this year in September, and you're absolutely right. The name Rockstar, people don't usually associate with what we do, but it started because the name came about. I used to be a singer in a rock and roll band. So in a previous life, when I worked for an investment bank, my release from all of that was a singer in a rock and roll band, and I never became the next John Bon Jovi, unfortunately. So when I came up with this concept, I thought I wanted a brand name that would be positive, that would be memorable, but most importantly, that didn't have to be pigeonholed in a certain sector. So I came up with the name Rockstar, and 10 years on, here we are. It started purely as mentoring. I've always believed, in previous life when I worked in an investment bank, I've always believed if you want to achieve success, the fastest way to do it, and that's success in business, either your own business or working for someone else, the fastest way to achieve business goals is to find someone who has already achieved what it is that you want to do, and then get them to show you how to do it, ideally on a one-to-one basis, and have that commitment between the two of you and a committed goal to achieve over a set period of time, which I remember talking about the last time I was here. So that's how it started. And over the last 10 years, we've realised, thousands of companies, nearly 10,000 businesses that we've helped over the last 10 years. We've had some tremendous success stories purely from mentoring, and we've got phenomenal mentors. I mean, to be a Rockstar mentor, you have to have started, built and sold your own company, and the minimum amount is 4 million. The average price right now is 18 million. So you're taking advice from people who have been there and done it, not people who have just read the book and are applying theory. But over the years, we've realised that mentoring is great. It's wonderful, but often it's not enough. Because having someone say, listen, this is how you should do it. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Trust me, because I've been there and I've done it. It's not going to work in this sector. This is what you need to do. That's wonderful. Or for another perspective, it's great to have a mentor lift up the bonnet of the business and be able to judge and see and assess very quickly why you're not in profit, why your profits aren't as high as they should be, because they can see from that almost helicopter view looking downwards that you're spending far too much on this marketing and you're not getting the result. You're spending too much on this salesperson who's not delivering anywhere near what their targets are. You know, you're spending money for this big glossy office, but people aren't even coming here. You're going out to see them half the time. So what we like to do is lift the bonnet up, because over the last few years, we've realized that mentoring is wonderful, but it's not enough.
While we're talking about mentoring in its most basic forms, is it not the most problematic stage in a business's development? Because you're not only dealing with maybe a product, for instance, it could be an IP product, a tech product, it could be something tangible, but you're also dealing with the personalities, because these are the people that have got this very tight connection with what they're trying to do. So to a certain extent, people at that stage in a business's development are nearly deaf, aren't they, to the advice that they are given?
They can be deaf to the advice they're given, but remember, we are contacting people, and businesses are contacting us on a regular basis. The ones who are stubborn, who don't ever want to hear anyone else come in and tell them what they should do in their business, believe it or not, they don't come to our events.
Not the second one anyway.
They don't call us, right? We're very proactive, but again, a lot of clients see us at events or they see our marketing material online and they engage with us.
So what do you think the major criteria, and I know we're going to talk about the other services now that you offer, which I think is a terrific development, and more of that as we go through the programme. I think you're going to, particularly if you're looking for a mentor at the moment, I think you're going to find it really interesting in as much as the additional services now that Rockstar are offering. But in the most basic form, when somebody is looking for mentoring, how do they prepare themselves? What kind of business? Where are they in their business development? What are the key things, and what are the biggest mistakes that they turn up? They rock up at your door to Rockstar. They walk in the door to go, we want some mentoring. Do you ever sort of say, look, go away because you're just not ready for this?
It depends. So very recently, I mean, who are the customers? They vary from people at the pre-startup stage all the way up to, we have MDs who are running multiple £1 million companies that, are at that stage where they like to have a mentor as a sounding board, as their assistant in helping them going into various board meetings, etc., and giving them that expertise and advice, right up to just having someone who they respect. That's the other thing, because when you look at the profiles of who we've got, you could be turning over a £10 million company, but if the guy who you could get advice from your sector is a self-made billionaire, then you're going to respect that and want to hear what they have to say about the business. So the levels vary. Are there people who we say go away to? Effectively, yes. I mean, obviously, we welcome a conversation with every person who inquires with us and says, yes, I'm interested, I want to learn more about how it works. Of course we do. Often, though, the great clients are the ones who have gone through, whether it's the app or the website, and have had a look at the different platforms and the different mentor profiles that we've got. Often people come to us and say, listen, I've looked at 3 of your people. I really think they would be great for me. I'd be interested to learn more.
So this is the difference, isn't it? Because when you're looking for mentors, normally it's one size fits all, isn't it? But what you're now offering is a range of mentors with different discipline skills.
Yeah, and other people in the industry, because it's changed phenomenally as well too, the industry. I mean, in 2007 when I set up Rockstar, there was a huge gap in the market to create access to quality entrepreneurs that SMEs and starting businesses would absolutely pay to get access to. Fast forward 10 years, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of companies, incubators, accelerators offering mentoring. And a lot of that mentoring is free. However, as a result of that, the quality of the mentors that are there are nowhere near as high as other organisations. And at the same time too, it's the other way that you can model it, where you've got the main person, the individual who does have the credibility and stands up and does the sale on behalf of the brand, but then it's not they themselves who are doing the actual mentoring or facilitating, it's their team which is below them. And again, you start to worry and wonder about the criteria of those people.
You've been around this particular market for a long time. Obviously, the 10 years we're just talking about that. there never seems to be, nobody ever mentions the word buckets of luck or the words bucket of luck, because it just seems to me that you can have two businesses that have got identical profiles and one just gets that bucket of luck and it's the one that will explode onto the market. It's the one that maybe not even just been first, but just been in the right place at the right time. Do you ever come across that's what people are actually looking for? They're looking for mentoring in business luck.
That's a very interesting question. There's a saying that I use all the time. If I had the T-shirt, I'd buy it. The harder you work, the luckier you get. I'm a big believer in that. There are a lot of entrepreneurs I know who absolutely disagree with luck and business luck and buckets of luck, etc. Another saying that I believe in is it's not what you know, it's who you know. I've been shut down by some seriously, impressive people by saying that phrase. So I guess to answer that question is, the buckets of luck, as far as mentoring is concerned, is when you have access to someone of great respect in your sector, and as a result of that has great sway in your sector, and has a very, very large contact book of potential clients for your business. So where we've found the biggest buckets of luck, I've never heard that term before, but there you go, I'll use it for you, mate, is when, and this has happened on multiple occasions over the years, when a mentor has been paid to work with the company, they really like the individual, they really are impressed by what they can do and their product or their service or their brand that they've created, but the person behind that business has just struggled to actually sell it. And so what mentors can do at Rockstar often is they pick up their phone and they open their black book and they help their clients, our mentees, with genuine warm introductions to the customers that can actually get those and help them close those deals.
So maybe to replace the word luck, it's opportunity. It's buckets of opportunity, isn't it? And of course, that's what the mentors are bringing to the conversation. They're bringing their contacts, their experience, their expertise, and by using those opportunities, they can then develop the company. Listen, we're going to talk more about what Rockstar are actually offering now, in addition to traditional mentoring. We're going to find out also why mentoring is so important, and also the areas that are important to you. My guest today, Sir Jonathan Fowle from the Rockstar group of companies. It's great to have your company as always. We're live here on a Monday. By the way, if you would like to interact, if you've got a question maybe perhaps for Jonathan, you can, why don't you tweet it to us? Just tweet it. Linda is sitting at the moment. She's watching the machines all outside. Tweet a question over. We'll ask Jonathan on your behalf and find out a little bit more, maybe get an answer for you today if you are thinking about having your organisation or looking for someone to mentor you. Maybe you feel that you have a huge gap in your knowledge at the moment. You're thinking, I just need someone to guide me through the maze of that part of business. And it could be anything. It could be, sales, it could be marketing, it could be branding, it could be even just going out there and getting funding as well. How do you start doing that? It's a big minefield out there. And I'm sure Jonathan, with his expertise and experience, will be able to answer your questions today. If you want to get in touch with the program, as we said, just Twitter the question over, just tweet it. We'll tweet it back to you as well, but we'll also answer it live here on the program as well. So my guest on the day, Jonathan Fowle. We'll be back with Jonathan in just a few moments' time. Let's go back a week, shall we, and have a look at what happened on last week's edition of the programme. It was a good show last week too. We had the secret to big business success is what we were talking about. My old buddy Gordon Treadgold, he came on the programme, as did Charles Bennett. It was what we were talking about. We were talking about leadership and also customer and employee experience. It seems that all of those very much go hand in hand. Get one of those right, particularly if you get your employees engaged in your organisation, then what will lead on from that is that you'll have better engagement with your employees, better engagement perhaps with your customers, and really isn't that what we're looking for? And then how do you lead people through the maze of leadership? What makes a great leader? It was a great show. If you've missed the show, I do suggest you go to our website and check it out. There's a whole hour of great information there with Gordon and Charles, but just to give you a bit of a taster, here's what happened on last week's edition of Business Connections Live. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest today is Gordon Treadgold and Charles Bennett. We're talking about success in business, the secret to big business success.
From customer experience and the way we judge success of our organisations. If you go and talk to a typical CEO, their job, their role is to try as far as possible, primarily, is maximise the value of the organisation and the return to shareholders. So everything they seek to do is performance-based.
If your employees are highly engaged, then they'll deliver excellent customer service. If they're not engaged, they're going to be giving poor customer service, and that's going to have an impact on your product sales and customer satisfaction. Every year Gallup does a survey of employee engagement, and every year it comes back saying around 70 to 72% of staff are either disengaged or actively disengaged. And when people are actually actively disengaged, then of course they don't give a damn, they don't care. They just come in, they serve the time, they follow the process.
We actually define our companies top to bottom, left to right, silo specialisation. So when Adam Smith first came up with the concept 250 years ago, he was able to inject something like 4,000% productivity improvement into what was previously cottage industry.
You know, we did a study and we found that whether people have been with the company 25 years, whether they were millennials, whether they were baby boomers or just new to the company, we found a mixture that there was engaged and disengaged people.
Every single day, we spend chunks of our day working on things we are not fully engaged in.
Yeah.
It's no such thing. If you're an entrepreneur, you probably have even more of it. The entrepreneur has to create engagement for doing things they're just absolutely not engaged with. Is as soon as the organisation is big enough where people have to split off into specialisations, and I will argue that the specialisations should be starting to move away from function, but that's a separate, that's when the concept of team comes in.
The one thing I would advocate any business to do is to keep things simple, because as we get bigger, the ability or the tendency to overcomplicate that comes with scale can take over, and when we overcomplicate, then that kills execution. So keep the business as simple as possible. Make sure that the communication is simple, and because what you want to do is we were talking about the edicts coming from the CEO down to the front line, and if you've got a lot of layers of complexity, that's when the message that gets to the bottom doesn't make any sense to the people at the back.
You can't create an empowered workforce if they don't have the capability to be able to deliver change or even the motivation. You can have the most capable workforce in the world, and there's plenty of highly capable people around, but if they're not empowered, they're not motivated, how much will they achieve? Zero. So actually a lot of this is bringing those 3 points together and actually developing the people ahead of the business, because that's the first principle of momentum. Second point is there's going to be a focus to this capability. And from my perspective, it's always been about the customer. So the focus moves away from the service and the product we build, but to the outcomes. Hi, Charles Bennett from Next 10. Key takeaways from today. Number one, it's more about people than processes and structures, albeit processes and structures are very important. Number two, think about how you develop people ahead of developing the business. Creating rapid change is all about people, and the momentum you create is actually is on the basis of the beliefs and the permission that you give them in order to be able to do it. Number three, if you're going to focus on what you're going to do, is a focus on the customer, but not in the context of the product and service you build, but in the context of the outcome you are trying to provide. So those will be my 3 tips coming out of today.
So, hi, my name is Gordon Treadgold, the CEO of Leadership Principles, and my takeaways today are it is all about the people, and if we want to achieve the best business success possible, then we need to have as many of our teams engaged as possible, and currently we're around 30 to 32%. And the way we get people engaged is keep it simple. If we overcomplicate it, we impact their ability to execute, which can then leave them disengaged, and we also need to tell them what's in it for them. It can't just be about the customer and the company. There has to be something in it for their employees, and if we keep it simple and we tell them what's in it for them, we'll drive up engagement, which will drive up results.
Fantastic show. If you do get a chance to, please go onto the website of Business Connections Live and check it out. By the way, if you'd like a show just like that one, maybe you're a large blue chip company, maybe you're a corporate, maybe you're having issues at the moment with communicating with your workforce, Perhaps you've got a remote workforce. Maybe you want to get your message out to your customers on a monthly or a weekly basis. I mean, many of you are going to be sending out newsletters at the moment. We're all trying to make our lists longer, aren't we? So you've got to have something that is valuable for them to actually watch and engage when it comes through. Sending out a newsletter these days, I personally don't think cuts it anymore. So if you're looking for something that's slightly innovative, and if you want to be at the head of the technology, because most people are now saying that websites within 5 years will all look like multimedia TV channels. If you want something that's like that today, that allows you to show your personality, to explain what you're all about, why don't you get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live, and we can put something just like that together for you. It's dead easy. We've got our own full studio here, obviously, and we can brand this and make it just look like your personal own TV channel. If you want more information on that, why don't you drop us an email to this address, to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. That's studio@businessconnectionslive.com. If you want, you can have a word with either myself or Linda Bazant. She's by the phone. She's sitting there right now, in fact. Looking very nice she is too. On 01784, she'll hit me for that later, 256 777. That's 01784 256 777. If you want to follow our stream of consciousness or do a direct message to us, you can use Twitter, of course, at BCL Business TV. Don't forget the Facebook page as well. A lot of response on Facebook Live. We're using that quite a lot. There is a lot of rubbish on it, though. There's no two ways about it. There are a lot of people are just sticking up any old rubbish. But you can watch the business programs each and every week. You can leave comments on them. If there are questions that you want answered, then you can also get in touch with us via Facebook as well. But probably the best place to find us is by going to our website, businessconnectionslive.com. Over 200 hours of free business advice just waiting there. Everything from sales to fundraising to mentoring, whatever you want to find out about, there's going to be a program on it, and our experts are true experts. They're not just anybody off the street that were just pulled in here that can do a bit of a talk, we hope. They are true experts in their individual fields. So just go to the website. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company with us today. Joining me in the studio is Jonathan, Managing Director, Rockstar. Did I get it right that time?
Yeah, if you don't have to say it like that, foul. Not foul. 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 Not foul. Foul.
Foul.
All right? It's easy.
Managing Director, it's easy. It is easy. He's had a lot of practice. Managing Director for Rockstar. Do you know what? It's in all the years, we've known each other now for a number of years, in all the years, I think every single interview, which is just so awful, every single interview I've ever done, I've always got your surname wrong.
That's true.
And you always will go, we should have had a word about this before we started, Steve. And I always feel like I've been told off. But yeah, so I consider it as ongoing mentoring.
Thank you.
In pronunciation.
I'll send you the bill.
Thank you very much. The name's interesting. You were saying the background to the name is a bit like Smith in Germany, isn't it?
It is.
And in Australia, there's a kangaroo and two other people.
Exactly,
that
correct.
got the same surname.
Exactly right. I was so obviously grew up in Australia, yes, and it wasn't until I moved here 12 years ago, but did my first skiing trip to Austria, and I realised then when I tried to return my skis that there were about 30 fouls, just in that ski shop alone. So, we're a big family.
Which is great. We're talking about mentoring today. If you're just starting your business off at the moment and you're thinking to yourself, we all don't know everything, do we? And there's going to be people out there that are going to have that key information that we really do need to have. And where do you go to get that? And when you get it, how do you know it's going to be any good? How do you know the mentoring is going to be any good? You've already laid that criteria down. You say these people that are your mentors have had to have, on average, 16 million turnover?
No, they have to have started, built and sold a company for a minimum of 4 million. 4 million.
So
the average is 18 across the portfolio.
So these people do know what they're talking about?
Correct. They've been through it themselves, multiple times. Is
it enough, do you think, Jonathan, to have a mentor who will sit and talk to you and go through the processes? Is there more, do you think, that is needed for a business that is starting up at the moment to develop and to grow and to be successful? I suppose is mentoring enough for success?
Sure. Well, the short answer to that is no, not at all, no way near. Going back to what you were saying before about, yes, the mentors within Rockstar have been through a journey that most entrepreneurs would love to do, and a very, very small percentage actually do. So there isn't much that you have not learnt or been through yourself by starting something, building it up, and then selling it on to someone else for a lot of money, right? There's not much you haven't been through and learned. And that's always been our criteria. However, I've met a lot of very wealthy entrepreneurs who would make the worst mentors in the world. Their favourite words are I and me.
What do you think makes a good mentor then?
A good mentor is someone who genuinely cares about the success of the business piece, the person that they're working for. You've got to, and their passion for it comes from the passion of the entrepreneur. And a great mentor-mentee relationship is one where the mentor themselves are very fond, not just of the business, but the individual themselves. So it very much is a two-way relationship. But as a, is it the be-all and end-all to be successful in business? It's not. It's not enough, because a good mentor are the ones who can lift up the bonnet and very quickly assess why the business isn't doing well and what needs to be done to achieve success in it quickly. So how do you guarantee, or how can you measure that mentoring is good? That's a very, very good start to a successful mentor-mentee relationship, is when you're leveraging off the experience of someone who can very quickly say, as I said before about that helicopter view, this is why it's not working and this is what you need to do to fix it. And for the first few years of Rockstar's life, that's all we did. This is what's wrong with it, and this is what you need to do to fix it. For example, your marketing costs are ridiculously high. They're not generating the leads that you need, and that's why your salespeople are not getting the conversions that they want. Why are you spending this much on your marketing? You can do all this for free now. Do you know there's this that you can do? Why are you spending so much? They spoke about the office space. I said all this in the previous section. So a few years ago, we thought, do you know what? Rather than just tell people what the problems are and then tell them what the solution should be, let's own the solutions. And let's give them the solutions for a big discount in comparison to other companies that offer sales or marketing or app development or offer solutions, etc. Because the last time I was here, we spent a lot of the time talking about our investment side, because we are not just a mentoring company. We really we state these days, and have for a long time, that the Rockstar Group is a resource bank for entrepreneurs and investors. The mentoring element is just one of those resources. So over the last few years, we started to, through partnerships and acquisitions, build up all the different resources in-house that we can now offer our business owners at different levels.
Now this is really exciting, isn't it? Because it now means that when somebody comes to you, it doesn't matter what size business they actually are at the time, the resources are going to be there. Now I don't want this to sound like it's a plug for Rockstar, but it just means that the additional resources that a business needs to grow and develop are all sitting there waiting to be plugged in and switched on.
Spot on. Half the time, we now say to people, you actually don't need a mentor. You don't need a mentor, right? This is what's wrong. Like, have a few hours initially, and they're going to outline and show you what the problems and what the solution should be. But what you need to be investing in are those solutions.
Give me the typical scenario then. Somebody coming in, they're asking for mentoring from you. What is the typical path that they would take then to get or to use some of these additional resources?
Sure.
What are the triggers that do that? Is it the mentors saying, as you were just saying, is it, you're spending too much on marketing, have you thought about doing marketing like this? Your sales team aren't effective, you're maybe outsourcing your sales team, perhaps you should maybe consider doing it like this. Is that what happens? Is it driven by the mentor, or is it driven by the entrepreneur who is talking to you?
It's driven initially by our sales team. So when clients and new potential clients come to us via our different channels, what we want to find out from them very quickly is where the current business is. What are they spending on marketing? What sales are they achieving? What are some of their other fixed and variable costs that they have within the business? And so we gather that information firstly, and at the same time, we also then ask, which is the most important thing to build a successful client, is to ask that individual, what are you doing this for? What's your goal? What's the number that you want to be selling this company for in the future, or how old do you want to be when you retire? because we can tell you right now, based on what you've told us, in terms of this is the current sales in the company, this is how long you've been going for, this is what the costs are. Yes, we can look at stripping some of these out, etc. But before we spend any time doing that, tell us, why are you doing this? What's the goal? And you'd be amazed how often what they really want to do compared to what they're doing here to try and get to that real goal.
A real disconnect.
And so that is where it starts, my friend. And then that helps us in terms of our mentoring managers. Once we know the personal goal side, along with what the dog, right, which in most cases a lot of these businesses are, that's just hindering them, that has them on the leash effectively, the entrepreneur, just the time and effort they're putting into this, it's just not hitting and leading to where they want to go. Once we've got that info, then we can really give them a solution.
Because they don't know what they don't know? Is that an issue that a lot of the entrepreneurs have when they come into you? So they're doing it in a particular way because they don't know that's not the way to do it?
Yeah. Well, I give you a great way to define it. The answer is yes. Remember before how I said I've always believed the harder you work, the luckier you get?
Yeah.
And I've always believed it's not what you know, it's who you know. And the guy who blasted me for that is actually inside my organisation now. Because that's how I've always lived. That's how I've always done business. Because I'm a sales guy, you know. I just need to know who's got all those connections, to build the relationship with that. I'll get it in and we'll go from there. But is it a case of if you don't know what you don't know? Absolutely. Because I got fired back and said, mate, it's everything about what you know. Because that gives you that advantage. Knowledge is power is another way that you can put it. And so many entrepreneurs don't know how they can structure things. So many investors don't know how they could do things to ensure and hedge and guarantee their returns. The great thing that you've got, Jonathan, is that you've got a fantastic network and you can call them up any time and ask for advice or a connection. That's great. But it's the knowledge of what you're building and creating for the market, which is where the real fun is.
Well, but let's look at the way that that you're structured at the moment. I would imagine there are other mentoring organisations out there that are similar, but you are quite, in this particular instance, you're quite unique. So just explain the structure of the way Rockstar is and the services then that you're providing to the individual entrepreneurs when they come in through the door.
Sure. They come through the door through coming to our workshops, events, our website, but of course now our international mentoring app. So by interviewing all of the mentors from here now, we've got we're 8 in Australia, 3 in China, 2 in the US, and we're growing. Users can now download the app for free, create a profile on it because they themselves can market themselves in the platform. And for the mentoring side of things, and this is where we're really going towards, is they for free can say, I want to get mentored. It then says what sector are they in, so they tell us which sector they want their business is in. So that could be retail, for example. So I'm in the retail sector. Then it says, what do you need mentoring in? And there are 9 different categories, from starting up, selling, increasing sales, going global, and selling your company on. So they can say, for the first time I've ever seen in the world, you can say as an entrepreneur, I'm in the retail sector and I really need advice now on my sales. And therefore the only pieces of content that come up straight away are the people from that sector, very well known and respected entrepreneurs, giving you the advice via a pre-recorded video on sales for free. You get to watch all the different personality types and then you get to choose which one you want to engage with for one-to-one.
Now I can see the advantages on 2 sides. So the entrepreneur is talking to you, is getting the benefits of all of this, but of course you're getting the analytics. You can see the journey that they are taking. Correct. As well.
Yeah.
So does it work for both of you?
Massively, massively, for 2 reasons. They're getting a huge amount of free content, which they can then choose if they wish to upgrade to more content. They can advertise and promote their own businesses to, we've got 53,000 people now and that's growing. We've only been going for a few weeks. And so it's hugely beneficial. The great thing about the analytics side from us is that we can get a feel for our customers who are now on our platform before we engage with them to talk about the other resources we've got. We can see what they're watching, which mentors they're choosing. We can look at the profile they've created and see where they're based, what their business is doing, what their website is, and that adds a lot of bespoke value to the client because when we get in contact with them, we're having a conversation that we know they're interested in. And on the other side of things is we don't ever assume, we ask the questions, but mentoring is there, and we've leveraged off technology to expand the mentoring angle inside. But the resources I'm talking about is we have a large sales team. We now rent out our salespeople to our clients if they wish.
Well, what we'll do, we're going to get onto that, because this is like a very bespoke way that you can put together your dream team without maybe the expense that you would traditionally have if you were going out and maybe having a dedicated sales team or a dedicated third party providing you with a sales team. So we'll talk more about that with Jonathan in just a few minutes' time on this edition of Business Connections Live. Well, of course, one of the other skills that you're going to need when you're going out there and you're going to be talking to people, you're going to need the skills of presentation. How do you go about being an effective business presenter? How do you stand up in front of maybe a prospect and deliver your killing keynote? How do you go about doing that? Is it a case that practice makes perfect, or are there skills that you can learn? Are there techniques that you can learn? I was last weekend, I was actually up at the Public Speakers Association meeting in London, the PSA in London. Fascinating day. We were looking at structure of how people put together presentations. Now, within your business, are you developing your presentations in a coherent way? Are you one of these people? We've all got this terrible habit at the moment when it comes to presentation techniques of telling linear stories. We go in there once upon a time and blah, 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 and eventually we get to the point, instead of going in there and saying actually what the point is all about and then filling in the detail afterwards. We tell stories in presentations the wrong way round. That's my personal opinion. Now, when we're coming to and talking about effective business communications, how do you go about doing it? We've got a great program. The guy that came on the show, our expert, was Paul Ryan. He was on Business Connections Live number 114. He was in January of last year. In fact, he joined us here in the studio. It was a great show with some great techniques. It was also very funny as well. Just to give you a bit of a taste there, here's Paul Ryan on the effective business communicator.
Okay, my name's Paul Ryan from Improve On You, and the takeaways from today's programme are: if you're going to give a presentation, what you're probably going to find is that your nerves will kick in long before you get up on your feet. So something that we didn't discuss in the programme but I want you to use is a positive affirmation. Often we talk ourselves down. We will say, oh, God, I hate giving presentations. I'm rubbish at giving presentations. It's going to be terrible. And it's the old Henry Ford thing. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. The brain is an incredibly powerful tool. And what I want you to do is stop those negative thoughts in their tracks by thinking something positive. So I will always say to myself, for example, and we all get it. I was saying to Steve earlier, you know, coming on this show, I get nervous a little bit, but I'm using the tools and techniques that I want you to use now to put me in a really positive state of mind. So when I was waiting to come in, I used my positive affirmation, which was, I am sharp, polished and professional. I'm sharp, polished and professional. That stops all the negative monkey mind chatter in its tracks with a positive affirmation, a statement of something which is true. Okay, because I am pretty good at what I do, I am professional and I am focused. By telling myself that, that's what I'm going to feel. So before you get up to give your presentation, choose a new positive affirmation and repeat it to yourself. It must be in the now, not I will give a great presentation, because will is always in the future, but I give a strong, clear presentation. I enjoy the presentation that I'm giving.
I enjoy the presentation I'm giving. And it's funny, we were talking about this on Saturday, about how people prepare before they go onto stage. I am the best Steve Hyland there is in the room. So it's a danger there's another Steve Hyland who might be slightly better than you, but you know, you've got to believe in what you're about to say. You've got to know what you're going to say, then you've got to believe in who you are. And remember, you know, you've got the first 15 seconds or thereabouts to actually make that impact. You never get a second chance on the first impression, as they say. Really, a great show. If you get an opportunity, please do go onto the website, check it out. It says the business world, they thrive on those who communicate clearly and passionately, but one business leader estimated that in his view, 80% of all communications in the workplace fail. So by his rationale, 4 out of 5 times people interact with each other in the workplace is pointless, a pointless waste of time. Check out the entire show, Business Connections Live, BCL180. It's called How to Be an Effective Business Communicator. And our expert on that particular program is Paul Ryan. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company with us today. We're talking about mentoring today, how you should go about it, and how that whole industry is changing. I think if you go back 5-10 years, it may have been a situation where you would find somebody who'd been there and done that, got the T-shirt, but it was very much, me as the expert will mentor you, the entrepreneur, and I will give you some advice. But things are changing. Business doesn't allow that anymore. And with me there, Jonathan from Rockstar Group of companies. The Rockstar hubs, you may have actually seen adverts in some of the different publications that are out there for entrepreneurs. And can you see adverts for it now?
Yeah.
They are out there, aren't they? And you may have seen them at some of the different shows as well, where they give businesses the opportunity, entrepreneurs the opportunity to pitch their businesses to a panel of experts. And I mean, that's a real good indication. If you've seen programs like, obviously, The Apprentice, it's like that, but a little bit more professional, which isn't going to be very difficult, actually. If you want to find out more about Rockstar and their hubs, you can go along to their website. We'll just have a quick gander at the website. You'll see here that we've got the Rockstar Group of companies. Are you an entrepreneur or investor looking to take your business to the next level? Well, you found the right partner to do it. They've got Rockstar Mentoring, Rockstar Hubs International. It's where you'll learn about our business support products, which we're going to talk about now, in fact, including things as sales outsourcing, law firm, app development, crowdfunding, and so on. And then you've got the Rockstar Business World, where you've got the app that Jonathan was just talking about, where you can get those little nuggets of information when it comes to mentoring. Let's talk about, you're right there. Have you choked?
I've got a bit of a throat.
Yeah, you've got a bit of that's it, clear it from there. Yeah, just get it out of your system. All right. So what we're going to do now, you're okay, you're good now. Excellent. So we're going to talk a little bit about those additional services that are becoming more and more necessary for businesses to grow and develop.
Absolutely.
So are you going to be all right?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I just get nervous when I'm around you, Steve.
It happens to a lot of people.
Yes, it does.
I understand completely. Thank you.
I don't do this often.
You're talking tonight, actually, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
What are you going to be talking tonight?
It's a gig. A gig.
A gig. I'm doing a gig
I'm
today.
still the wannabe rock star, aren't I? Got a gig. No, I'm speaking to a number of entrepreneurs and investors at Google Campus, actually, this evening, so it should be fun.
Yeah. What will they be looking at of the presentation that you're giving?
That's a great point. I mean, it leads very much into what we're saying here, so good question there, mate. There'll be entrepreneurs there. You're welcome. You're welcome. There'll be entrepreneurs there. There'll be investors there. So let's talk about the entrepreneurs, right? People, there's content everywhere. There's advice everywhere, right? And there are companies and services that these guys over here, they do sales, and these guys do recruitment for salespeople. Or these guys can do all of your digital marketing, and these ones here, here's your law firm, here's your bookkeeper, here's your accountant, etc. And the evolution of Rockstar was great advice, great caliber of mentors, great success stories from those who took the advice and were able to implement it. But a couple of years ago, we thought to ourselves, do you know what? The advice is wonderful, but as I said before, it's not enough, because you can give people all the advice in the world, but if they don't have the ability or the resources or the experience to actually implement it, then the advice is worthless. And we charge for our advice. We'd much rather see them implement it than not. So as I was leading before, in the last section, finishing off with, we, through cost-effective partnerships and acquisition, we added a whole addition of products and services to the Rockstar Group. First and foremost, let's cover the sales. Most people, especially today when they're building businesses, even it's either professional services, but a lot of the time it's new technology or new things for either the B2B market, B2C market. Especially in this country, I find the entrepreneurs themselves, whilst they do their best, most people who run and create this technology or who create these businesses aren't the best people in the world to sell it. Now, that's been a change of view that I've had. You can quote me from 8 years ago. I say, no one can sell your business better than yourself. But that's a sales guy saying that.
I've got to agree with you, actually.
Yeah.
I really do, because I think it's the toughest thing that any business can do. Unless you fall in, you get maybe a large customer very soon or very initially, and you are generating those sales from your enthusiasm and also the uniqueness perhaps of the product or service that you're offering, then it will just work and the traction will be there. But to do it cold, is a completely different thing.
Massively, massively. So we created, we more than quadrupled the size of our sales team, and we started renting them out to our customers at next to nothing, at 50% cheaper than what you'd pay in London, right, or internationally. And these are British people, who are doing it. These are our salespeople, and we rent them out to our customers if we feel that we love this business, we can help you sell it, and we're going to sell it. The other one, of course, is what everyone, and I heard Dexter Moscow in one of your previous interviews was saying last night, people try and hide from that phone call and just push content out on social media hoping that leads and events will come. And he made a very important point. He said that is no longer, it's starting to wade away. I mean, the amount of content and crap that you see within your social channels now, you cannot stand out. People are now going back to this, but we also acquired a digital marketing company because they do it very, very well. They don't know how good they do it. And so with the Rockstar brand in front of it, we thought we could really utilise this. So again, we manage social media for customers for next to nothing. App development, as you just heard, I've built an app. It cost me a bloody fortune. It is one of the biggest rip-off industries in the world, right? I put a team together, run by a very, very skillful and experienced chap, and we built Rockstar apps. We've never built an app for someone more than 50% of their previous cheapest quote. So just to give you an example, someone recently had 3 quotes, 50,000, 80,000 and 140,000. We did it for 16 and still made a decent margin. Why do we do, and we own a law firm. We provide legal services for companies at next to nothing. We give people shareholder agreement templates, sales agreement templates. We give it to them because the mentor is there overseeing them. And in some cases, you'll have a client that will, that comes to us wanting a mentor, leaves with a mentor, 3 sales guys and a digital marketing solution, and all of its legal's done for them. Okay, you'll see a guy that comes to us looking to raise money for an app, and realizes that they can build an app, without having to raise any money. You'll have someone who thinks they want a mentor and leaves purely with 2 salespeople. So having the resource bank there, as you said, it means that there is always a solution to fix and provide to different businesses, which is also cool.
With having that diversity in your business, does that mean that you're not spreading yourself thin? Because I think the thing is that you would imagine that if you go to an organisation that specialises in mentoring, then you're going to get the best of the best when it comes to mentoring. And then if you go to another organisation that does sales, you'll get the best of the best when it comes to sales. By having it all under one roof, is there a danger of diluting the offering that you're giving?
No, because remember, we did it through partnership and acquisition. So every time we built and added a new product and service in, we went and found world's best. Right? As I said with the marketing guys, they are 100 times better in terms of their solutions than anyone else I'd ever seen who charged thousands. But they just didn't know how to sell it. Right? So we were able to incorporate that in. So no, it's not spreading oneself thin. It's simply taking existing teams that exist or creating new teams under the Rockstar brand. I assure you, my head of mentoring is not trying to sell an app build. I can assure you that.
Well, but it's interesting. I think that's maybe sometimes a consideration because there is nearly a danger of it sounding too good to be true. So, 5 years ago, I'd have gone looking for a mentor. Now, as you're saying, I could turn up, get a mentor and a sales team and an app developed and also all my legals all sorted out under one house. What's the typical profile of the people that are turning to you at the moment then? Who are they? Are they young entrepreneurs? Are they international entrepreneurs? Are they old codgers like me-preneurs? Steady. Is there a typical profile of the kind of people that are attracted to Rockstar for the services you provide?
They are typically businesses that are 3 years old, that have got traction, that are making money, but they don't have they haven't got where their goal is. They're so far off where their goal is. I mean, it varies hugely because you can imagine now the way we market and the sort of people who come via the app. Remember before? I mean, we had a guy, what I love about the app is, we had a chap, I woke up on Sunday morning a couple of weeks ago and there was a guy in Tokyo who had bought 12 hours with 3 different mentors.
Right.
And because he's there in Tokyo looking for advice for different things for his sector, and that's what he looked for. So the typical client varies massively, more than ever now, because there are so many different channels and value fields that we give to attract people in. And you asked me this the last time, and the first thing I ever do when you ask me that, I just come to my head, who did I meet last week?
Yeah.
Who did I meet last week? But when you think
this
about
time
it,
you're prepared for it this time.
yes, very much so. I prepared here first thing Monday morning when I woke up. I went through all my notes, and of course I prepared. Yes, but no, it varies because it's often people who, I met a guy last week, right, who had mentoring, one session with someone years ago and came back. He's been going for 9 years. And, he's nowhere near where his goal is, nowhere near. And, we did a session, and I did it because I invited him to one of our lunches that we did, and I lifted the bonnet up in an hour. It was so obvious where his problems were. And then we started looking at new revenue models for him. So he's going to be going ahead with a new app, which is going to revolutionise what he does and really make it stand out in his sector. And he doesn't have the time to be engaging estate agents, inventory clerks, landlords. He's in the property sector. So for £700 a month, he's now got us hammering the phones on a built targeted list that we'll set up the appointments and do everything there, but he goes in, meets them and closes them as a client. So these are some of the examples of what we do.
All right, so we've got all these different services, everything from marketing, app building and all the rest of it.
Crowdfund, yep.
Yeah, one thing that a lot of people come up against is when it goes about funding, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. If you are looking at starting your business at the moment and you thought, yes, we've got all the ideas, maybe you've even got all the sales and all the peripheral parts of the organisation in place, and it's the funding now that is causing you the issues, well, maybe there's a solution for that as well in just a moment right here on Business Connections Live. It's always great to have you. We're here every Monday, of course. We're live, and it's just absolutely brilliant to have you with us, as I just said. Now, what we'd like you to do is we'd like you to support the channel if you can. Now, that would be a great help. We've teamed up with Patreon. Have you come across Patreon at all?
No, I don't think so.
It's a different way of doing things. What you can do, you can become a patron of the channel by using Patreon, and you can go along to our website. If you have a look at our website, in fact, we just roll a little piece of footage. Here you go. If you have a look out for these orange little banners, they're all over the site. Click on those banners and they will take you to our Patreon page. Now, Patreon is a way of, it's nearly like crowdfunding, but as opposed to trying to raise a certain amount, it is crowdfunding subscription effectively. It's a very, very clever idea. Started by a musician in America. There are some people that make or have been very successful on this platform. There are others, of course, that don't. This is all about, you've got to market yourself to your patrons. But if you'd like to support the channel, if you find the information useful to you, well, why don't you go to the website at businessconnectionslive.com, find one of those orange tabs, or the orange P looks like that. Click on that and that'll take you to our page. Now, we also offer rewards to our patrons as well. So, for instance, if you were to be a patron, if you were a corporate organisation, what would that mean to you? Well, it would mean that you'd have the opportunity maybe twice a year to come on the program and do a program that's specifically sales orientated. Now, today, you may have noticed that we are not marketing what Jonathan and Rockstar do. This isn't a sales promotion for the Rockstar group of companies. What we're doing here is we're telling you what is available out there in the mentoring marketplace and how mentoring is changing, how that marketplace is changing, how different organisations are looking at mentoring for businesses in a different way. And one way of doing it is by offering all these additional backup services so that when you go in there, you come away with a full basket of products that are going to make your organisation successful. So that's the way this programme works. If you become a Patreon of the channel, then you get the opportunity to come on the programme and actually do what is predominantly a straightforward sales programme where we find out more about your business, where your business is going, what you offer to your clients and to your customers, and what the future holds for you and your clients. And so effectively it's a sales programme. So if you want more information about that, go on to our website at businessconnectionslive.com. You're watching Business Connections Live. We're into our last segment here on the programme today. My guest is Jonathan from Rockstar Group of Companies. See, I'm not even saying...
You've given up on the surname, haven't you?
I can say it, Paul. But just don't say it, because I'm just so conscious of it now. I once did a car launch, actually.
Yeah.
It was a Skoda car.
Yeah.
And I've got to think, even to this day, I've got to think about it. It was the Felicia.
I was going to say that's
the
a tough one.
Felicia.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to paint any pictures here for you, but somebody just before I went on went, ladies and gentlemen, please, the brand new and I had to stop for a moment because it's the Felicia, because there's another word that sounds very similar to it, and I was sure I was going to call it,
which isn't a car either,
which isn't a car at all. So you just become very self-conscious about that whole thing.
Absolutely.
Listen, let's get down to business. Rockstar. One of the things now that you guys are offering is the funding. A lot of people talk about crowdfunding. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to crowdfunding. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of misinformation about how you go about even going for crowdfunding, what it really means, how it will affect the company, how much of the company it will cost if you do crowdfund, what the dangers are, what the risks are, what's in it for the people that are funding that. This is just a whole program in its own right.
It is, yeah.
So you are offering now as an organisation for small entrepreneurships and large entrepreneurships an opportunity to come to you and go, right, let's get this thing funded, let's get the thing rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. So we own a crowd fund, and it's specifically designed to help the companies that we own raise money, which I'll come to in a sec, but also we have it as a platform that lets entrepreneurs, companies that we're not backing, they can obviously get access to raise money on that platform. It's tough, as much as people showcase and the big crowd funds that are out there that say it's easy, we've done this many billions of funds raised, etc. Out of every single company in the UK last year, Steve, that pitched for investment, what percentage do you think actually got it?
From crowdfunding, the way they would talk, I would say 60, 70%.
2%.
2%.
Every business that went out to the market and said, I want to raise money, not on a crowd fund, I'm not the ones who were approved to be on the platform, everyone who just went out with a business plan, with a pitch deck and said, we're a business, we want money. Only 2% out of 100 got it. And
why?
Why?
Is it because they were badly prepared?
Yeah, it's for all the same different reasons. The valuation is too high. The business or the product or the brand just isn't good enough. You don't have enough security if you're looking at debt funding or peer-to-peer. If it's an unsecured loan, that the banks or the peer-to-peer, the funding circles of the world deemed you too high a risk. Or you were successful on the platform and Crowdcube, for example, or one of the big funds said, we will back you, and you didn't hit your mark, so therefore you don't get anything. So when we saw this space in the market, we really looked at it and thought, what can we do if we're just looking to help companies raise money for themselves? What they all need now to have any chance of getting it is called a lead investor or a cornerstone investor. And this is what the big crowd funds will ask before they agree to put you up. Now, if you're trying to raise 100 grand, just to keep the numbers simple, they want to see evidence that someone, when you go live on Crowdcube, that they are going to put up 25 to 30,000 pounds, 25 to 30%, on day one, and then the rest of the people will follow. Very, very difficult for an entrepreneur to get someone before they're even on a platform to commit to 25, 30K. So our platform does two things. Number one, we can use it to create the lead investor or the cornerstone investor for that business through 50 people.
Right.
So we can then let their friends and their family, etc., all pool their money into one.
That's a really clever idea.
And then we hold the funds in our law firm, and once we get to 30%, we then go to our friends at Crowdcube, for example, and say, here's the lead investor, it's in the law firm, here's a guarantee that we're pledging it on day one, let's approve it and get it raised, right? So we do that.
So that really is a very, very clever way, isn't it? So it's the old way of friends and family.
But giving them a legal, FCA regulated way that they can trust to know that they're not just going to give the 30 grand, because if they need 100,000 pounds, the worst thing you can do as a family friend is give them 30, right, and say, please don't spend it. Right?
Yes, I'd like it back, please, if you don't mind.
Correct, right? So we do that, and that's not our main cause, but we do that because we're solving a big problem for a lot of entrepreneurs and the crowd funds as well too. But most of the companies that we raise for are our companies, are pieces of technology that we've seen, that we love, that the entrepreneur that owns the IP is trying to raise money for it, but they don't, they're not sensible in their valuation, and if they want to keep going and raising money, they can, but The other thing as well, you give £1 million, in my experience, to a young entrepreneur who's never seen that much money in their life, and you're a minority shareholder, without that control, there's only one thing and one thing they're going to do with that money, and that's spend it, hoping that it's going to deliver a return. If we raise £1 million for our industry, we might, for one of our companies, we might only need 100 grand right now for 3 new sales guys. So we'll drop the other 900 in our hedge fund, which is currently...
And then do a call down or whatever.
Exactly, but that 900 is working. It's a complete liquid hedge fund. We can pull it out whenever we want, but that money's working for us at the same time. So, but the one thing entrepreneurs really need to understand, especially the bigger the amounts that you go for, is it costs money to raise money. And we did over 46 deals last year, and that costs us money. And we're the majority shareholders in these companies. So we created a way to de-risk the investor but also reduce our costs. So one of the things we do is called the Founders Club, where entrepreneurs or smaller investors can look at all the companies that we own. They can see what they are, what the description is, what the technology is, and like, ooh, I really like that one. I'd love to invest in that one. But no one wants to be the first one in, right? Unless they're family and friends. So we created the Founders Club where they invest as little as £5,000. That money covers our cost to do all the legals, to put the pitch video together, to pitch it to investors, to pay to put it on the crowd fund, right? Because we have to pay money to put our own deals on our own fund. That's just how it works. And that money is used to raise the first round of SEIS, which is £150,000. When we receive that £150,000, we still own the majority of the company. And that owner, that Founders Club member, the entrepreneur who's invested the $5,000, they have a contract that says you now own £10,000 worth of shares in this company. So when we raise the first round, we go back to that founder and we say, listen, what would you like? There's option one is there's your £5,000 back, and you keep your 10,000 shares in the company, £10,000 worth of shares, in the company, or relinquish the shares and we'll pay you the 10,000 cash back. So that's the first way that we can hedge and ensure that our smaller investors are getting a return.
It seems a very attractive way of doing it. What kind of response have you had in the marketplace to it?
Very, very strong. Very strong. So
are you going to end up creating a marketplace that's going to become very busy for other people doing this? Or is it the uniqueness of what Rockstar can offer that allows you to be in a position to offer that kind of service?
Correct. The latter is the answer to that question. The reason I'm happy now to come onto these shows and talk about this as openly as I do is because it's almost impossible for anyone else to try and replicate what they're doing, what we're doing, unless you are prepared to build a resource bank as big as what we've got. Because if we're creating a company with this technology and having the rights to sell it, and you're not charging the entrepreneur anything, you need to make sure that you can sell it, that you've got a resource bank in-house that can cost effectively make it work. So unless you're prepared to replicate everything that we've built and own, it's very, very difficult to replicate.
This has been an interesting hour. I'm sure you've found a lot of great information in there. If you are thinking at the moment of maybe going out and getting mentoring for your company, for your organisation, for yourself for that matter, and you feel sometimes the mentors that you've been talking to in the past are maybe just one-trick monkeys, in as much as they only know one particular stream of what you're after, here's an opportunity to nearly spread the risk when it comes to the mentoring. And then to add to that all the this does sound like an ad, it's not meant to, but the fact that there are all the other services that are there as well to plug into. And I think the thing that resonates with me, we are a nation where we are frightened to pick the phone up. I think a lot of people will do anything but pick the phone up to generate sales and leads, because we'd rather be tapping away at our keyboards and doing a bit of social media, because we feel that is the way of generating brand new leads. And of course, I think in many respects it isn't. You've got to pick the phone up. And in fact, we are now so deluged with noise from social media that the only way to stand out from the crowd is to pick the phone up and to go, hello, my name is this. Do you fancy doing that? It's been a fascinating insight. The whole hour, as always, has flown by. Would you do me a favour, if straight down camera number 4, if you could just give us the key takeaways, say who you are and where you're from, and also the key takeaways that we need to remember when it comes to mentoring, but also the services that you at Rockstar provide too.
Sure.
Airways are yours.
Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Fahl, the founder and managing director of the Rockstar Group of Companies. In essence, we are a resource bank for entrepreneurs and investors. Hundreds and thousands of companies are always looking to be that success within their sector. Entrepreneurs, you're going out there risking it all, your money, sometimes family money, in order to turn that dream that you've got into reality. The first piece of advice that I want to give you, and as a real take back I want you to get, is especially, and you learn this as you go more down the line of this journey, because it's not always what you expect it to be, is firstly know why the hell you're doing it. What's the goal? What's the vision? What's the physical amount you want this company to be when you sell it? Or what's that picture in your head that you're, relaxing on a beach or on your super yacht at one time? You need to know why you're doing it, because what we then do, and what we're really, really good at helping businesses do, is lifting the bonnet up on what you're trying to achieve based on that goal, and very quickly being able to assess to you why it's not working or what you can be doing to make it work a lot faster. And sometimes even the business that you're even trying to build is not the one that you should be, because it's getting you nowhere near your goal. So for entrepreneurs, we have access to some of the world's best mentors, business people who have been there and done it. You can get access to them. We rent our some of the best salespeople, in the UK to our clients' businesses, so we can actually pick up the phone for you very cost effectively and sell you and get you in front of your customers, or we can do that. If you need to build technology, an app, for example, we own an app development company. It is a very cost-effective platform that you can do. We own a law firm, we own a crowd fund, we own a hedge fund, we own a media agency, we own everything in-house. And the reason why we do it is because we're not in the business, believe it or not, of trying to make money from these resources. If we can give these services to you at cost, and you can reduce your cost, and your profits then and sales start going up, you're going to be very, very happy. And then you're going to become an investor with us. And that's really what we love doing, is giving high net worths, small entrepreneurs access to invest in very fast growing tech businesses where we manage, we control, have all the resources in-house, and actually start delivering on the returns that you want. So for more information, rockstargroup.co.uk, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Cheers.
Thank you very much to Jonathan. If you want to go to their website as well, as Jonathan said, rockstargroup.co.uk, you'll find the website sitting there with all the information that you're going to be looking for. Just go onto the website. We'll have a quick gander at it right now, and you can see the different areas that we're talking about. Everything across the top there about Rockstar Group, mentoring, mentors, case studies, the app, the blog, also how to contact them, and then the key propositions that they make on the particular site. What I like about it is it's very clear, it's very precise, and it gets you to the business very quickly. You want to get more information, go to their website at rockstargroup.co.uk. Jonathan, as always, an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Let's not leave it quite so long next time before we get you, and I promise I will get your name right the next time.
I appreciate that, mate.
Thank you. Someone's just said Jackanory in my ear. The number of times we have met, you think I'd be getting it right, and how rude of me, and I do apologise. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today, and our thanks to Rockstar Group and to Jonathan for coming in to the studio today.
Cheers.
Right, just a little bit of housekeeping before we walk out through the door. It's getting quite warm in here at the moment. What have we got? Well, on our next program, we talked to Deborah Hume from Minerva Engagement about employee engagement. We've done a lot about employee engagement over the last couple of weeks. It seems to be an area that is of prime concern to a lot of organisations. It is very easy to be living in a bubble, sitting inside of your boardroom, thinking that everybody is happy as Larry further down the chain of command, when in fact what you've got is misinformation. You've got people who aren't engaged in the organisation any longer, perhaps making up their own policies or rules within the organisation because they are just not aware. Are you managing them well enough? Are you engaging your workforce well enough? If you think you are, perhaps maybe watching the program will give you some second doubts on that, and maybe by listening to Deborah, who is an expert in this and has been the managing director or human resources director for some very, very large multinational organisations. When it comes to employee engagement, she is an absolute expert. She's also an expert as it happens as well, on neuroscience too. So a little bit of the science about how to engage your employees on next week's edition of the programme. Coming up on future programmes, Samantha Earle, she's the General Manager of Pertemp's Driver Training. What are your liabilities if you have a fleet out there at the moment? What should you be aware of, and how do you go about making certain that your fleet is the most effective and also law-abiding and safe fleet? Well, then Samantha's going to be explaining all of that to you. we've got a welcome return of the LinkedIn man. James Potter is going to be joining us again on the program. We've also got in the future Jackie Jarvis, who I saw on Saturday, and also Ian Dixon as well. So some really good shows coming up in the next couple of weeks. But once again, I'm pretty certain we're going to have Jonathan back on the program in the near future. But from the pair of us today, thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you found it really useful. Don't forget, go to the website at businessconnectionslive.com. But from the pair of us, we'll see you soon. See you next Monday. Bye for now. Bye-bye.